Hi, and welcome to Boomer Has It. I'm JB Miller in London.
I'm Jim Jalamas in New York.
This week we're going to talk about the Washington Post. Good riddance to the Washington Post.
Yes,
Um, yeah, you really feel that way, Jim? Let it lead the way. Why good riddance to this institution of journalism?
its owner is slowly killing it, and at some point we lose patience. We lost patience a little bit with the presidential endorsement suspension in 2024. We lost our patience when Bezos made a strategic pivot on the op-ed page, which I mean, strategic pivot sounds like a bad title in a bad PowerPoint.
Yeah,
And now the layoffs, and that's why now it's time to send a message. It's a dying institution. It's time for it to go. Our subscription dollars can be better spent with other news organizations where they're taking it seriously. They're not influenced by the owner's important relationships.
yeah. I hear what you're saying, but of course I've been on the record and I've been haranguing my friends not to lose their cancel their subscriptions because I think that's just going to kill it
Because
more.
wait, because you're misguided is really the reason, right?
I don't. I think that yes, it's true that when Bezos decided not to have the paper endorse a candidate in the 2024 national election, supposedly the newspaper lost 250 digital subscriptions, or 10% of all their customers, which is a huge amount, and it's a huge financial knock on their bottom line. But I didn't. I took it in stride because I don't know what difference endorsing a candidate would have made. I would have preferred if they had endorsed Kamala Harris, but I think it was clear from their news coverage, how they're covering the election, that they weren't in the tank for Trump. And then, but that was the first knock on the paper, because then he was firing more people over the course of 2025, and also, as you say, putting his thumb on the scales for the editorial side, but not the news, and not the news side. That's why wanted people, and I think I still want people to hold on to their digital subscriptions, because I don't see any lack any um, any lessening of their reporting.
I don't know.
And
I'd like to imagine where the first 10% of the subscribers, where they migrated to. Did they go to the New York Times or the Guardian, the Atlantic? Where are they buying their news now? Are
Or
there
maybe
better
they're not.
places? And
Maybe they're not
well,
buying the news
maybe
anywhere.
they're
Maybe they're
not.
just, reading their news feed on Facebook or whatever. However, a lot of people get maybe they've created this bubble for themselves, which I'm worried about, from either the left or the right. Why do you assume that they would migrate to another news source?
Well, let's make some assumptions. We're baby boomers, right? We're
Okay.
accustomed to seeing daily news from a daily news organization. It's hard for me to imagine that those 10% of subscribers just let their attention dissolve into free news on Yahoo or their social media feeds. It, it I'm guessing that they're pretty dedicated to subscribers, but this is all speculation.
What were they
Really,
so upset about? Do you think it was really that people? I mean, clearly people were upset about Bezos, well, not Bezos or the Washington Post not endorsing a presidential candidate. That seemed pretty cowardly. In retrospect, maybe it was a smart, calculated, risk. He's got all these business interests, but I mean, did it make a difference in the election itself? No, I don't think so. Do you think so? I don't think it made any difference.
who's to say? Probably not. I mean, Trump won fair and square, but it was not a landslide as MAGA really wanted us to believe. It was a fair and square election, and Trump won, but not by a huge
No,
margin.
it wasn't a
If
landslide. It
you
was
look,
pretty close, 1.5 percent, but I mean, it wouldn't have, I don't think it would have been the less or more of, of a point spread if we had seen a Kamala Harris endorsement in the Washington Post. They weren't the only paper that declined to endorse a candidate. Gannett owned USA Today, the fifth largest print and fourth largest digital subscriber, as well as more than 200 local papers under their umbrella also did endorse a candidate. So that maybe this is a problem with oligarchs or wealthy interests owning these journalistic institutions. So it didn't used to be a problem, but it is now.
Well, here we were talking about this last time. It's the concept of the benevolent rich owner of a newspaper, but benevolent or not, it's a long tradition in the U.S. Millionaires and billionaires have owned newspapers, and the idea of editorial independence always comes into debate when there's an owner like that. So, are you going to be a benevolent owner or not? I would argue Bezos, it's a personal asset. It's not owned by his former company. It's like owning a boat. It's prestige, and it's a way to gain
the cost of a boat too. I mean, what did he spend more on his yacht than he spent on the Washington Post over the last few years? I mean,
it was half the price of his. It was half the price of his yacht. And
what he paid for it was half the price of his yacht. Okay.
Correct. And you might say someday in the future, all this will go away, and Bezos won't feel like he's beholden to the president of the United States and fix it with his massive fortune. But for now, we just lost 350 reporters in February. Where are they going to go? You might argue, well, hey, it was just the Metro section, sports, their daily podcasts.
The book section bothered you.
Unforgivably, they let go of Book World, which has been around since 1978. When Katharine Graham owned the paper, they were hand-wringing about Book World. It doesn't make money. Well, you know what? It's newspapers aren't like that. Jared Kushner bought the New York Observer naively 15 years ago, and he had this notion that he would run it like a business. But newspapers, news organizations, media organizations, they don't have the same rules. That they don't run by the same rules as maybe a mining operation does, or a bank. It's different.
No. Well, no, and that's certainly noticeable here in London, which is I think still has something like 9 daily papers. I don't know who's reading them in print. I mean, you see them in print. You see them in newsagents all across the city, and they just pile up. And then you see them wrap up.
Well, not only that. What's very charming about England is you have an evening newspaper that is on this, that is physical, or you used to.
We used to. The Evening Standard.
Oh, that's too bad.
Anymore. I'm sorry to report, but we do have all these newspapers. They're all losing money pretty much, and I think they are held on to for their political heft, and they're mostly right wing. I mean, they are very powerful. The Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, Daily Express. These are right-wing newspapers. The Times is more center right, owned by Murdoch, but they are instruments of political power, which is the same with papers in the States. So they shouldn't be attempted to be run as a business. That's not one of their greatest. That's not why necessarily people want them in hand. That's not why they still exist. Yes, you hope for someone like Katharine Graham to run the paper, but that's not the case so much anymore.
Well, but that's not, that's not mutually exclusive either, because some media organizations make a handsome dollar.
I guess the New York Times is doing well, isn't it?
Business Insider makes money.
Okay.
There are many out there that do. They're not household names necessarily. They might be in niche categories like business or gardening or something.
Yeah, it's a tough business. It's like restaurants. They're a tough business to pull off.
Well, but hollowing out the Washington Post I don't know I can't speak for the sports section or the Metro section. I would argue Metro is important in a city like Washington.
Yeah, it's a local.
But
It's their
but
local paper.
what really hurts is Book World, because it's been very influential for me. It leaves only the New York Times with a standalone book section, and the Washington Post differentiated itself because they emphasized their reviews on books about power, geopolitics, society, and great authors like Percival Everett, who a few years ago was somewhat obscure, mainly appreciated in Europe, and now he's he's at the fore
Yeah,
as a man of letters in the United States.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what
No,
they
understood.
routinely did that, and
Yeah,
very sad, and
well, no,
actually
that's a real
feel
loss.
vindictive.
Yes,
So,
okay, that's a loss. But I mean, as we both pointed out, we are speaking a day or two into Trump's Iran incursion, and if you look at the Washington Post, they're absolutely crushing it. They have amazing coverage. I think they're matching the New York Times in their coverage. So I don't know. If you did know about the sports section of the Book World, which are a clear loss to the paper, they seem to be covering this story pretty well. Even though I know they fired several international reporters, so I don't know how they're
well, okay,
doing it.
and you also made the point when the Department of Defense, whatever you'd like to call it,
The
asked
Pentagon.
asked it was right. It was the Pentagon asking reporters basically to take a loyalty oath before entering the building, or they would lose their press passes. That's not literally what happened, but I think you made the point that the Washington Post reporters who had the Pentagon beat pulled out and
And
did
they
good work.
continued breaking stories. Yeah, I thought that would happen because they've got contacts within the Pentagon. They don't need to be physically on site. The idea that this would somehow, reduce their coverage or suppress their coverage was really naive. And especially in a situation, in an environment with a lot of people at the Pentagon who are chafing at the guys in charge who are completely hapless. Hesketh does no right to be in charge of the Pentagon. He's a twerp. So yeah, those stories we're
Not
gonna
to
get
put too not to put too fine a point on it.
not
How
to
do
put
how,
too fine a point on.
how do you qualify Hegseth as a twerp? I mean, what is a twerp in
No,
2026?
he's a hack. I don't know. He's like a workout hack who's always showing off, his push-ups and stuff. I mean, it's all about and he needs a constant makeup artist apparently because he's always wants to look good on screen. I mean, it's a
You know, I,
keystone spot
Mr. Miller, I think you might take some advice from Pete Hegseth.
all right. Yeah, here we are.
He
We're,
told generals that out of
our,
shape and overweight generals wasn't a good look. Have you been
no.
doing push-ups lately? I have.
Yeah, all right. For our thousands of viewers on YouTube, they can see that I haven't applied any makeup for this appearance. Although I did add, for those listeners, you can't see, I have this beautiful bookcase behind me that Jim sort of coerced me into changing my position or
But
to broadcast
what's
from.
missing from that bookshelf? I'm sorry to say,
What's missing?
the power broker. You're
The
really
power broker.
you need to
No, but
just
I have.
buy you just need to buy one as a prop.
Yeah, yeah. Just to have, I do have as a prop my own book, Dutch.
Oh,
Um,
God. Wait a
which you
second.
can see on screen.
We just lost viewers.
Oh no! Anyway,
Self
I'm holding up
promotion,
one of my novels. All right,
self
I'll tweet it
promotion
out. Try to do that every now and then. Anyway,
self
getting back to
self promotion carries a scent, and it's not a pleasant one. Pepe Le Pew.
well,
Please
well,
continue.
with the book world gone, as you pointed out, we need the writers need all the help we can get. So that's all right. Well, getting back to
Well, let's
the
just get
subject
back
at
to that
hand.
for a second. If you were to actually, the fact that the Washington Post owner is so beholden to Trump, it's so transparent, because if he were actually making good business decisions, if these were business decisions, he would be like what the New York Times did. Instead of jettisoning the sports section, they brought in the Athletic, and they charge an
Yeah.
extra fee. It's been
So they kind of
successful.
spun it
They
off, and
charge
they
an extra fee for their food pages,
yeah,
the
and they have
cooking. They've charged
recipes.
an
They have
extra fee
games.
for puzzles. It's all
Yeah.
been very successful. So
Yeah.
I see Bezos is slowly killing the paper. It's like a 19th century murder mystery where the killer administers small portions of arsenic to create like this systematic poisoning that, small doses of poison that poison that mimic like a lingering illness, and then the victim dies.
I
So
mean,
and if you think about it, if you resign your subscription, it's like a vote. It's kind of like a vote,
all right.
and
I hear
I'm
everything you're
voting
saying.
elsewhere.
Is Bezos a boomer? Do we know? He must be. He must be. I would imagine he's a boomer. He's less. He's younger than 80 years old.
I think he's Gen X.
Is he? He's not. Is he younger than us? Oh my God! I was gonna make the argument that he has sort of an old-fashioned, maybe boomer-esque view of what a newspaper, is, and the financial side of it. But is he younger than us? Is he
Well,
Gen X?
maybe he is boomer because he sure looks like a Bond villain, doesn't he? The
He
shaved
does. He
head and the
looks like
weird look.
yes,
But
boomer Bond.
maybe he was influenced by James Bond movies in the 1960s. Sean Connery.
He should be stroking a cat. Everyone doesn't see him. He should have. He should be, so, Mr. Bond, yes, he does seem, rather odd, evil, Bondy like villain. But he certainly doesn't know how to run a newspaper, and he's just, I don't know what he's doing, because he seems to be just driving it into the ground. He's not closing it. He's kind of attacking it with, what does it call it? A death by 1,000 cuts. So I don't understand what he's doing, but I still support the paper. I still subscribe to it. I still read it every day, along
Well,
with lots
goody
of
for
other
you.
heritage media. I may have too much time on my hands, obviously, if I'm imbibing this much media. But I do like the Washington Post. I'm sorry for its losses. I'm sorry for the loss of the book world. I'd never paid any attention to its sports section, but a lot of people did. And it is a local paper, so the Washington area is losing a lot of its local coverage. But what's the answer? What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to keep supporting it, like what I'm doing, or just abandon it and let it just die a slow, painful death? What what you're suggesting?
Look, well, if the business's owner is saying these are business decisions, then let the business decisions have their consequences, and the consequences are they lose subscribers, and that those subscriber dollars go elsewhere. Maybe they go to PBS or NPR. Maybe they go to the competing newspapers that are real newspapers or real news organizations. Not a subscription to some podcast.
Well, all right.
Podcasters Patreon. Although JB and I are very open to donations on our soon to becoming Patreon account. No, don't get us wrong.
I have a question for you. Do you think if Jeff Bezos knew ahead of time that he would lose 250,000 digital subscribers if he decided not to have the paper endorse a candidate? Do you think he still would have gone through with it?
25,000. Oh, it was
250,000. No,
oh my God.
Would he have gone? I think he would have, because it was a political gesture. It wasn't a financial move.
It's clearly transparent. The data point I like the most is what triggered the layoffs was announced $77 million loss at the newspaper, and his net worth is, I don't know, what is it, 250 billion.
Yes.
That loss, that personal loss of 77 million, represents 0.03% of his net worth. So for the average person who earns $100,000 a year, 0.03% of that represents $30. He lost $30, which is, I don't know, $30 could be a round of really expensive coffees at Starbucks with your friends.
No, so that's the point. So you're saying it was obviously a political gesture. It was not a
fully
financial.
Transparent.
He could, if he wanted to, he could easily keep supporting the paper, but he's got a lot of business interests, which are much greater than Washington Post, with the Trump administration. And this is a very completely transactional administration. So if he's got does he have SpaceX, or I can't remember, Blue Moon? What is it called? He's got one of those, one Blue Moon. He's got one of those space businesses that does a lot of work, I guess, with the Defense Department, and he wants to be able to keep merging and stuff. It's a problem. We haven't solved this problem, and I don't know what to suggest, except I don't want to see the Washington Post killed off. But do you feel? I mean, clearly it hasn't already been killed off, because we saw from its current news coverage, it's still doing a great job. I don't know how, because it's lost so much of its staff.
Well, here's sort of an imaginary scenario. Let's say, it's a trophy asset, right? And with trophy assets, you can buy influence. In this case, using this trophy asset for Bezos is a way to make friends, influence people, maybe get government contracts, definitely get government contracts, or maybe it's defensive. It's to avoid losing government contracts, because we know that's what this administration will do. Where this is not, this administration is really sort of business oriented, but not really. It's like Chinese state capitalism that invests in companies and makes them less efficient, makes economies less efficient. Ultimately, but I'm not going to go too far down that road, because I already forgot what I was going to say. But
I keep on hoping
in a future scenario, let's say Trump and MAGA go away, it would really be pocket change for Bezos, if he cared, to rebuild the Washington Post and expand its investigative staff, its foreign affairs.
I mean, also, I've made the point that the midterms are 8 months away, and if he can hold on, the political landscape could be very different in less than a year. And so, he might, and then there may be payback from the Democrats on organizations' business interests that caved to the current administration. I don't know. I keep on hoping someone like George Soros might swoop in and purchase it, but he's not going to sell it to anyone else. I think it works in his current political sensibility to not let anyone else have their hands on it. Well, anyway, I'm glad we've solved this issue completely, and our listeners and viewers have a much better sense of how to approach this from either side. Listen,
we're going to take a little break, aren't we?
Oh yes, we are going to take a break, and we'll be back in a moment, so stay tuned. Okay. We are back. Boomer has it. Do you have any headquake this week, Jim?
Yeah, and I think it might be helpful to refresh our audiences, to help them understand what a headquake really is. It's something that JB or I have experienced in the near term that we feel is worth sharing with our listeners. I happen to have one. My headquake is came from a friend who will remain anonymous. My friend works at one of the largest private equity firms in the world that will also remain anonymous. And it doesn't begin with a B or a D, maybe a B. Anyway, he shared a hot piece of research that went viral on Wall Street last Monday. And I'm talking about the somewhat obscure Citrini Research, Citrini spelled like citrus a little bit. And it produced a report called the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis. And it sparked a huge sell-off on Wall Street this week. And what's interesting about the report is that the authors created a fictional scenario set in June 2028 when AI agents hollow out the US economy. So we're past talking about LLMs. We're past talking about Gen AI and speculating about AI having human intelligence someday. Yay! We're talking about AI agents, which are functional tools that do tasks. You might think of an AI agent as helping you pick a place to go on vacation, booking your tickets and buying travel insurance for you, in within an hour. But in a commercial setting, AI agents do other things. They basically do, they replace software automation. So in this scenario, these autonomous tools are displacing white collar workers with massive layoffs. In June, in this future scenario, unemployment is at 10%. 1 in 10 workers doesn't sound so bad, but it's an economic harbinger. Economists look at this as an indicator of systemic national crisis and eroding social stability. It's just a very bad
That
thing.
sounds depressing.
It's very depressing, and because their jobs are permanently replaced by low-cost automation, new opportunities for workers dry up. They can't upskill. High productivity looks great on paper, but it doesn't circulate in the real economy. Consumer spending collapses. Sounds scary? It was for a lot of investors, and they sold stocks in Salesforce, Adobe, Visa, Intuit, Uber, and DoorDash. It's a Rube Goldberg imagination into automated dystopia.
Nice
So
reference.
there you have it.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, I can believe that, and but it's pretty depressing. So I'm going to cheer everyone up with my headquake, which is a local one here in London. I went to the revival of Tom Stoppard's Arcadia last week at the Old Vic, and it's just a beautiful production of probably his best play. I can highly recommend it. And he wasn't replaced by AI, although maybe the playwrights of the future will be. That's a sad thought. I also wanted just to respond to some reactions we had from on our last podcast, which was about the counterculture. Where is the counterculture? And a couple of really good points were made. One was that we totally overlooked the environmental movement, and that's been a very positive aspect of the counterculture within the last 20 years. And someone like
It
Greta,
has
yes,
environmental.
the environmental movement that's trying to stop climate change. Not what do you have?
I say I would call it an utter failure, but maybe that's a topic for another
Well, no, they
conversation.
ended climate change, and we're all on a path to wonderful long lives with the climate returned to the way it was in the 1880s, and maybe I misread that.
Oh yeah, we are doing that, aren't we? What about microplastics? I've got like a plastic spoon in my brain.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, it's their hearts are in the right place, even if there's been a counter movement to the environmental movement in the last year and a half. But I thought that was a fair point, that was an aspect of a counterculture that I'd overlooked. And the other one was the tech counterculture. My brother brought this up in the sort of in the 70s and 80s. So that was around the period that I was missing a counterculture, and I wasn't aware of what was going on in people's garages in Palo Alto or wherever Steve Jobs lived, building a computer that was eventually going to lead to the internet, which would eventually lead to the overlords and destroying our lives, essentially. But it began well. Anyway, I thought that was a fair point.
That's a good point. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for listening, and thank you
Yes,
for analyzing and
yeah, no,
responding.
yeah. Keep on with your responses. If you can leave any comments you might have, where can they leave them on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? Is there a way of
Apple
leaving?
Podcasts offers an opportunity. You can reach us on our Instagram.
And rate
Boomer
us,
has
please rate us highly, and that helps
it.
get the
Rate and
word.
follow. I have a note from in our mailbag.
Oh yeah,
Um, so sweet. We have a mailbag.
yeah. That's how
It's
old we are.
it's not like Santa Claus's bag. It's more like a little bag. It's a very slim gossamer bag with a slim little letter. It comes from someone named River Sage. River says, "Low key, your latest ep on countercultures literally slayed my entire existence and left me shook. No cap." So next week, maybe someone can explain what River is saying to us.
Yeah, explain
In
it
the
to me.
meantime,
I haven't follow it.
this has been Boomer Has It. We look forward to speaking to you soon. I'm Jim Jalamas in Brooklyn.
I'm JB Miller in London. Thanks. Bye bye.